Sweet surrender as I love, serve, and remember.
How big is our God? What? I know that I took my shoes. I just decided, forget them too. Forget it all. Get rid of all the rules. I don't care. You ever heard of the We Don't Care movement? It's hilarious. It's for perimenopause, menopause, and postmenopausal women. We don't care anymore. Anyway, I want you to think of something. You probably have many examples, or maybe you only have one. It's okay, because all you need is one. Just think of one example of something that you really wanted and you now have. So think of one thing. Has everyone got something? One thing that you really wanted and you now have. Now, for those of you everyone has different comfort levels. If you're comfortable, please stand. If you'd rather stay seated, that's fine as well. But for those who are comfortable, stand, because we're all going to do it, whether we're seated or standing. Now, you're going to need for those of you who are standing next to somebody, you're going to need some room. So you can move around the room. If you're sitting next to somebody, move away a little bit so there's room. Okay. So we're just doing something very simple. It's not complicated. I'm going to tell you what it is first because I don't want your arms to get tired. And by the way, for those of you, you're not up there. You're down there. Hi. For those of you online, you can do this as well. You can stand up or sit down, but do this as well. So I'm going to ask you to put out your arms, and then I want you to put your head back so you're kind of looking up, and so you're feeling of your heart going up. And I want you to, and if you want, you can put your legs a little bit apart, just take up space. And I want you to feel the thing that you wanted and that you got, and feel the joy of wanting something and then having it. And put your hand, if you want to just rub in your heart and then open again, just let the heart energy of gratitude pour out into the universe. I wanted something and now I have it. And take 2 deep breaths into your heart space in gratitude. And then when you're ready, you can put your arms down and sit. Return to your chair. That feeling of having opens us. But we have to acknowledge it, right? We can have I'm sure we have gotten things we wanted our whole life, but we don't always take the time to just go, Because when we do that, we're acknowledging the vastness of the universe. The title of today's talk is How Big is Your God? And always, you're interpreting it through your own language. So you don't have to use the word God. You could use universe, spirit, the thing itself, whatever your language is. But how big is it? When I was I think I must have been in prac training because I was living in West Hollywood at the time. Prac training, by the way, practitioner training. Practitioners are a part of the CSL training program. And I don't remember the context, there must have been something about abundance. And abundance, by the way, is the overflow. So it's a lot of something and the overflow. It's from a Latin word, with overflow. So abundance is always not just, you don't have just enough, but you have the overflow. That's abundance. I have more than I need. And for some reason, that just wasn't big enough for me. So I'm like, I wonder what extravagant abundance would be like. So I was just wondering, I was just in the question. By the way, fastest way to learn anything is just ask yourself it 1,000 times, and you'll start getting answers. So I was going on these walks, and I lived in West Hollywood. I don't know where I was. I'd get lost. I used the sunset, when it's down Sunset, that's west, east, north, south. So I'd follow, that's how I find my way home. So I'm heading north, don't know where I am. But I start climbing up, still asking myself this question, what is extravagant abundance? I just staying in the question, what is extravagant abundance? And where do I end up? In this huge estate. It's open to the public. I walk in, there's these gorgeous gardens everywhere. There's even hiking trails, and then this huge mansion. And I'm like, this is beginning to feel like extravagant abundance. And the house was closed that day. I could look in, but it's like elegant houses. This was 30 years ago, so I might have details wrong. I couldn't find this place again if you asked me to. But I remember reading on the plaque, this house was thriving and full of people, I believe in the 30s and 40s. And I've always thought 30s and 40s in LA must have been gorgeous. It's before all the people came, so there wasn't all the smog. And LA weather is basically, at least in West Hollywood, where I used to live, it would go between 45 and the low 80s. So it's pretty even keel. You didn't have the marine layer that you have if you're right on the beach. You didn't have the extreme heat that if you had in the valley. It was perfect. And I always thought, man, this would be the best place to live in the 1930s and 40s because of all the flowering bushes and the temperature, heaven. So this family that lived there owned, so everything, so as I'm looking out over the valley, they owned acres and acres. So all those places where there's houses and businesses in West Hollywood and even in Beverly Hills, they owned it all. And a lot of it was just barren that wasn't built up yet. But they had a ton of property. Now, I had no, in today's world, we might, especially what we're seeing with billionaires and things, we might get like, that's bad. I didn't have any negative feeling towards it. I thought, well, that's pretty cool. They must have had a good time. And it also made me realize, and I didn't have negative, but I didn't have a positive. I had no attachment, no desire, oh, I want that for myself. But I noticed when I used the word abundance, I associated it with material things. It's not, there's a divine principle, but when I thought of it, I had concepts of abundance. And I was thinking about that at the time, but I didn't think about it much, and I've been thinking about it because our board recently was talking about abundance, and I said, oh yeah, I'll do a month on abundance, and so I'm again returning to this idea of abundance, and I thought, oh, that's not really the word for me. And I'm going to tell you the word that for me in a minute, but that's what I want to highlight always in all these talks. And Ernest Holmes says it, we were talking about it in our consciousness class, that for everything you have to find the language of your own heart. Because it doesn't work if you're using someone else's language. Doesn't mean it's not true in their language. It's just as true. Abundance is true. It is a divine principle, but it wasn't the language of my heart. And so what I'm inviting you to is we're looking this month, we want to open up to the vastness of the universe. Find the words that work for you, the languaging that like turns you on, like it wakes you up. So this week, as we're talking about this, think about what are the words for you. So for me, the word that really captured me came from one of my first New Thought teachers, which was Joel Goldsmith, and his path is called the path of the infinite way. And he always talked about, we heard the reading today, he talked about the infinite. And what I liked for me, what worked for infinite, is I didn't have a concept of infinite. Like with abundance, I had, like, I couldn't disassociate it from material wealth. Infinite, because it's measureless. There's no limit. There's nothing to bound it. That it's so big that I can't even conceive it, and that's big for me. So infinite is a word that I love. It opens us up, and I think whatever your word is, the reason why I think it's important is because when the world feels like it's closing in on us, we have to start remembering and cultivating this consciousness of the vastness, that it is untouched, that we are just a small little blip in time and space. But in the vastness and the infinite nature of pure spirit, and I'm just going to use infinite for the rest of the service. That was just my preamble. Use the words that work for you. In the infinite nature of pure spirit, these are just moments in time and space, but it's nothing in the infinite nature. And what that does is it shifts us and opens us in a way that we can't be open. At the beginning, as you're saying, thank you for this thing that I have, the energy is openness. Fear constricts us. Fear is like the belief that everything that's happening on this earth defines us and our experience. And we start cultivating this word of infinite, we open ourselves up. What's interesting to me is, and I wasn't even aware, well, I was a little bit aware of it, but I didn't think about it until this month. And Cindy Epstein said, why don't you do a theme on abundance? Or she was talking about it, and I'm like, somehow I got it. But I don't think it came from me. And in thinking about it, I thought, oh, I've noticed I always used to sign off all my emails in infinite love and abundance. And because I love this word infinite, to me, everything was infinite. And then I noticed the last 3 or 4 years, I've just dropped that word. I don't use it anymore. I just say in love or grace or gratitude. And I've taken the word infinite, and I think it's impacted me. That we want to consciously acknowledge all the time, as much as we can, the infinite nature of God. Because it opens us up way beyond what. So if I say love, in love or in gratitude, we can interpret that just from a human limited sense. But infinite is beyond our human sense. It's beyond time and space. It includes all time and space. It includes all multi-dimensions of time and space, and it's beyond all of that. And there's no ending and there's no beginning. So there's no arrival point. There's no end point in infinity. It's a constant becoming. We're always ever new. And the glorious thing about when we connect with the infinite and it moves through us, it does not demand our perfection. We can say, when we think of ourselves, well, I have to be, have perfect health, or I have to do the education to be able to do this, or I have to do this, like the sort of the human way of understanding of what I need in order to fulfill something. But the infinite works through us beyond what we can do for ourselves. And there are many examples. I invite you to open up and start looking for examples. Yogananda, not only would he hated school, and yet so much incredible intelligence moved through him because he was open to the infinite. He also demanded that of his students, that they open to the infinite and start doing things that they didn't think they could ever do, not because they took a training or a class, but because they just opened themselves up. The infinite intelligence knows everything, and it gives us what we need if we ask for it. Maybe in ways we don't always expect, but there's a response if we're open. Michael Beckwith's favorite examples is George Washington Carver, who found all sorts of inventions, made 500 inventions from a peanut, flowers. He was incredible. And all of it was, he just listened. He opened up, he said, to the secrets of the universe. I looked at a peanut, and I opened up to the secrets of the universe. One little peanut. That everything contains the infinite. What we heard in that reading today is right on the money. Everything contains the infinite. So it requires us to be conscious that all day long, at our work life, in our relationships, in our home life, in our finances, in whatever we're doing, our health, everything, the infinite is always available to us and working through and as us. I think of Elder Porphyus, who didn't have more than a second grade education. He left school after second grade. His family was very poor, but he went off and learned from these monks, and he opened his heart to the infinite. And then he started working as a chaplain in a hospital, and he was clairvoyant, and he wanted to understand what he was seeing, so he would just sit in the back of PhD medical students' classes and was just learning the anatomy of the body, and then he would just, as he was he could see, and he could tell people what was happening. He even diagnosed his own doctor. He could see what was going on inside. He didn't say he's an expert at it. He would say, you should see this doctor, because this is what's wrong with you, and the doctor would be like, how do you see? He just saw it, but he also got the education, no more than a second education, grade education, yet he's sitting in class getting it all. Why? Because he wasn't relying on his human mind, which is finite and limited, but opening into this infinite intelligence. This is available to all of us all of the time. This is available to all of us all of the time, but we have to be sincerely interested. Elder Payesos, he was very sick. And we have a thing, like, you have to heal yourself. You have to, before you can help anyone or give anyone, you have to be healed yourself. And so I've heard people say, well, part of it keeps people from actually doing things because they're always fixing themselves. There's always things you're finding, or you need to be perfectly healthy. Elder Payesos had a serious intestinal disease that wasn't going to go away. He was very sick the last 10, 20 years of his life. it never stopped the infinite light from pouring through him and being a healing presence for other people's healings. Even though his body was sick, he wasn't focused on his body. He was focused on the infinite, and the infinite still used him in extraordinary, mind-blowing ways every single day. So the only thing that can limit the infinite within us, is our own blocks. I heard a question this week, and it's I'm just passing it on to you. I thought it was interesting. They said, if you think about yourself being a place of pure joy, that's your natural state. We were born, our existence is pure joy, and then without thinking, don't edit, don't do anything, just the first thought that comes to your mind, what's something that's blocking you from your pure joy right now? Just think about that. Don't think about it, but just whatever image, and it doesn't have to be right, you can play with it or not. And then if you take that one image and say, okay, I'm going to open this up to the infinite. I'm not going to try to resolve it all myself. I'm just going to open this up to the infinite. And by the way, every day you're nurturing the infinite. So right now you might just be hearing a word infinite and it has no meaning. But we'll put for those of you on Facebook, we'll put the reading on there. Joel Goldsmith is such a wonderful, because I'm excited by the word infinite. You might have a different word, but get excited by it. Feel it. So when you have a problem or something that's blocking you, and you open it up to that which has no problems, that which has infinite intelligence, that which is infinite power, that which is infinite good, that which is infinite peace, that which is infinite joy. Let the entire infinite nature of the universe pour through you and show you an entirely new way to shift whatever you're going through. A great example of this was Reverend Cliff Rubin, who's a CSL minister, and he was sharing a story where at his center, this board was meeting, and they were $7,500 in the red. And people on the board just started freaking out. Oh my gosh, we're $7,500 in the red. And they're just like, ah. And then he's like, it's going to be fine. But him telling him it's going to be fine was not doing anything to release the, ah. So he got really upset about them being upset. He said, so we're all really concerned. I'm concerned about them being concerned, and they're concerned about the money. So we're all like, like everyone should be different. So he said, I have to go. He goes, I got to shift my perspective here. I have to shift my perspective. So he went up to his favorite bench on top of a hill looking out over this gorgeous, beautiful, natural valley, and just to see the vastness of it. And he says, I go there all the time, but this time when I sat down, there was a bee. And that bee just came up, zzz, and he said, I just decided not to swat it away. I was just like, what is this bee? It's annoying the heck out of me. And he said, I even timed it because I just wanted to see how long it would be till it went away. It was there for 16 minutes. And he kept doing it, and you got the annoyingness of it because he kept going on. So what does that mean? What's going on here? What's the message? And then he's like, it just hit me. That's the money. That's the fear around money. And then and I don't like it, so I want to swat it away and say, no, it's fine. And it's this energy. And he said, I could swat it away, but we need bees, so it's not, you don't want to kill the bee. We need money. Money's part of our life. We don't want to get rid of money. But you don't want to in your face, that's not what we want. And he said, I suddenly became aware that right behind the bee was the vastness of this beautiful universe. And I completely missed it because I got so focused on that bee, and the bee was so focused on me. And that was where my entire attention became really, really small versus into the infinite. And that's for anything that's taking up. So when I said, what's blocking your happiness? That's a zzz. And it's not that thing isn't important. I'm not saying don't deal with it and pretend it's not there. What we're saying is just shift a little, get out of the way, and open to the infinite. Because in the infinite, this bee will find its harmony. It needs to find flowers. It doesn't need us. It needs to find the flowers. It needs to find its own habitat, and it will effortlessly do that if we both get out of the way and allow us to be who we're supposed to be. Does that make sense to you all? Are you getting it? Okay. So notice when you have something that's in your face trying to take you away from the vastness of the universe. The vastness of the universe isn't there to pretend that's not important, but it puts everything in perspective and allows us to deal with it from a much vaster, open, loving, conscious place rather than a fearful, "Urgh." So, all right, y'all in for, you like the infinite? Good, me too, I like it too. I gotta tell you, because whoever inspired this talk, thank you, because even in finding a reading for today, it is so fun just to be looking up lots of readings on infinite and abundance. And like, man, all you have to do is start reading about it, and you start getting more joyful and more free, and it's alive. Woohoo! So, infinite. The most important part about this, though, not the most important, and an additionally important part, is making sure you're connecting with the infinite within you. What I love about all those stories with Walter Russell and Yogananda, whatever, catching in, is you're connecting with your own inner wisdom. You're not depending on somebody else. And when we're on the spiritual journey, we want to make sure that we're listening to the infinite within us. Because here's the deal. The divine doesn't want me to be Jerry, and it doesn't want Jerry to be me. It wants everyone to be exactly who you are, and nobody, no spiritual teacher, no wellness practitioner, no therapist, no parent, no partner, no sibling, no child, no whatever, family member, work colleague, no one can tell us who we're supposed to be. That is something that comes from within. And so, for instance, if you go to a practitioner in CSL, the practitioner, if you say, I have this problem, I don't know what to do, and whatever the problem is, whether it's financial, health, relationship, spiritual, what the practitioner is not going to do is give you advice. Because what that would mean is if I gave you advice about what you should do about something, well, I'm allowed to. No, I'm kidding. Sometimes we fail. But anyway, what I'm saying then is that I want you to be like me. This is how I would handle it. This is how I would look at it. And you're not here to be me. You're here to be you. So that the way the practitioners are trained, learn, I don't want to be trained like an animal, but trained, is when people come with stuff, is to help people find their own answers. To help them find their own answers back to who they are, who you are. So you're not this is not a conformist teaching. This is about you absolutely becoming uniquely you. And I can't know who that is. That's why we have to ask questions. Because I don't know who you are. Only you know who you are. And the only way I find out who you are is by asking you questions and not by having an agenda. If I have an agenda of what you should be doing, then I'm not seeing you, I'm seeing my version of you. So in this infinite nature, infinite possibilities, and we want to be clear about our own voice within that infinite nature. We want to be clear. So going back to the George Washington Carver, he looks at a flower, he says, and he's with the flower and he loves it, and he said it reveals the secrets of the universe. Every one of your souls reveals the infinite nature of the universe, reveals the secrets of the universe in your way. And there's nobody on this planet who can reveal the secrets of the universe, the infinite nature of the universe, like you can. So in fact, the practitioner or the therapist or whoever your wellness practitioner, best friend, whoever your person is that you go to support you in becoming you, it's the greatest honor and privilege for that person to be with you, because suddenly you're revealing the secrets of the universe in a whole new way that we've never experienced. Every one of you reveals the secrets of the universe to me in a way I've never experienced before until I've gotten to know you. That's why I love classes. It's like every class, wow, getting to know new people, new ways of seeing things. Constantly, people say things I've never heard. I've taught for 25 years. People say things in classes I've never heard before, because every one of you is unique. The last thing I want to talk about around this infinite nature, because it's all the same thing, it's just coming, is our spiritual journeys. And I want to talk about my spiritual journey for a specific reason and in connection, because everyone here, because I've gotten to know a lot of you, is that we're all on very specific spiritual journeys. So my spiritual journey looks like, Joel Goldsmith was a big teacher for me. Shunryu Suzuki. Well, so I first really got into Joel. I did a lot of people, but when I really started settling down, it was Joel Goldsmith, followed by Michael Beckwith. Then I had the vision for ministry, where I got the call to ministry from Yogananda and Shunryu Suzuki. 2 different religions. And then later on, I got to learn from Ken Wilber and Integral, and of course, learned a lot of Ernest Holmes. When I learned from these teachers, first of all of these came from within. Nobody was saying, you need to learn them. I've been to people, to other spiritual teachers that my friends go to. They're great, but they're not who I'm called to. And I'm saying this because we live in a spiritual community. We all live in a spiritual community. The things that turn me on may not turn you on, and vice versa. So we're all here, not just as practitioners, but as friends, to hear, this is your journey, this is what calls you, and I support you, and you'll support me. So these were the teachers that were given to me, and I didn't just read books by them. I completely gave myself to each one. With Joel Goldsmith, Thunder of Silence, his book Thunder of Silence, I spent 30 days in the silence. Michael Beckwith, I'm at Agape, immersing myself in Agape. Paramahansa Yogananda, I'm doing his home study lessons. I'm going to the silent meditations on Fridays and Sunday evenings. I'm meditating 40 minutes in the morning and night. I'm doing everything he says. Shunryu Suzuki, 40 minutes in the morning, 40 minutes in the night, doing Zen. That every time I gave myself fully to that. On your spiritual journey, listen to, is this someone you're just reading and you're interested in? Is this something you want to give your whole soul to? And why? Is it because someone told you to or suggested it, or it really, you see, it worked for them, it might work for me? Even then, it took me a long time to get to Michael Beckwith. I had a friend who's like, you gotta go. And I went and I didn't like it. But after I did the 30 days of silence, I heard it and it came from within me, and that's when I got involved. You have to follow your own self, because the infinite is infinite. It's like you can't even begin to describe, and so there's obviously so many. So many doesn't even apply to infinite. So you have to become a master at listening to your inner voice. And if you have someone in your life to help you listen to that inner voice, fantastic. That's really wonderful and supportive. And maybe while you're in classes, that supports you to follow your inner voice. But it's up to every one of us on our spiritual journey to become masters at listening within. Now for me, I don't know if all of you know this. I don't know. Maybe, there's a lot of new people here. I don't know if you know. I am not an ordained minister of CSL. I never got ordained. I got licensed and have been in the organization. Well, I started taking classes in 93, but I was licensed in 2000. And that was intentional for me. And the reason why it was intentional is because I didn't get my call from Ernest Holmes. I appreciate what he gives, but I have a style. And I've been this way my whole life. Just as I follow I listen and I follow. I have many different teachers that I have given myself to and that I learn from. And I don't belong to any one teaching. I don't belong, I like Ernest Holmes, but he's not the founder of my teaching. My teaching is something that has unfolded over time with incredible rigor and intention and love. But what I love so deeply, and I want this to be hopefully an example of what I'm talking about. We have practitioners in our community that have been in CSL since, Cher's been in it since the 70s. Jerry and Christine are coming up on being practitioner emeritus soon, 20 years. Reverend Andrea, Beth and Gloria have been in this teaching for years. That some of these CSL practitioners, and I would say the Andrea and Christine and Jerry and and share. And we've talked about this. Jerry and I have talked about this. Sharon and I have talked about this. Christine and I have talked about this. They love Ernest Holmes. They're open to everything. They read all sorts of different things and participate, but Ernest Holmes is what excites them. And to me, the thing that touches me the most is that we can be in the same community, and I can say, oh, this is my path, and they can say this is their path, and we love and respect each other. I respect them so much. I go to them for prayer in a heartbeat anytime because I know who they are. I know their consciousness. And I think they love and respect me. And what I love about that is that's, to me, an example of what I'm talking about. We all get to be exactly what we are called to be and get excited about what exactly calls to us. And when we all follow that, we actually fit together. That the infinite nature is showing its beautiful harmony in all of its uniqueness and diversity, and yet in an absolute flow of connection and beauty and joy and love. And that's what we're about here at the Lighthouse. We're not about conformity. We're about practicing this principle of infinite nature and celebrating each and everyone's path to be that within yourself. You up for that? Yeah. I love that. I love you all so much. So let's do it again because it's fun. Let's just stand up. We're going to, if you can think of something new, great. If you want to use the same one, just open up your heart and just want it to go up and out. Thank you, and think of what you have wanted and that you already have. Just open your heart and feel it. Feel the infinite nature that has moved through you in amazing ways. And now you have something that you didn't have before. And just breathe in the joy and the love and the gratitude for this infinite nature that you are. And as you feel that infinite nature, if you're okay, you don't have to keep your arms up if it hurts. But just for a second, think of the thing that blocked you, that moment where you said, oh, this is what's blocking me. And I want you to put it right in the middle of your heart and know that your heart is the infinite, the center of the infinite universe where there is no circumference, that your heart is the center of infinite intelligence, infinite love, infinite joy, infinite creativity, infinite possibilities. And put your obstacle right there in the middle of your heart, in the middle of the infinite nature. And just surrender and allow the infinite nature to begin to work on this, whatever this knot is or whatever this obstacle is. Just let it go into the love of the infinite. Breathe into it. Any constriction, try to let it melt in that infinite nature. Everything is fine in the infinite. Just let it melt to the infinite. Feel it. And for this moment, it may come back, but just be willing to let it go. Completely let it go. And know that this infinite spirit within you has got it. It's got it handled. And you'll see it. You'll see how it has it. And so just let go and trust. When you're ready, you can put your arms down. Put your hand to your heart and just say, thank you, thank you, thank you. And it is done. So it is.
I walk in God in all I do. I walk in God in all